We'll move on to the next question, which comes from Abdul Ghaffar from Marseille in France. And his question is about the interpretation of the death of Jesus by the Ahmadiyya community. He says the interpretation of the Qur'an and the Hadith by Muslim scholars of the last 1400 years has always been the belief that Jesus was raised to heaven without being put on the cross, and God transformed another person to appear exactly like Jesus, who was crucified instead of Jesus. Discarding the view of the old eminent scholars of Islam, the Ahmadiyya community has invented a new interpretation about the death of Jesus. How is it possible that none of the previous scholars understand the concept of the way that we have done? So, is that true? Johann Gassab.
Well, first of all, my question would be, a counter question would be, why would anybody in the, at the beginning of Islam or even now, want to have a belief which creates such a horrendous scenario that it just beggars belief, to be honest. Because what exactly are we being asked to believe here? We're being asked to believe in the fact that Jesus goes to the heavens, to be saved from crucifixion. Somebody else is put in his place, as we've seen in a previous question. Now, why the Jews have done that in the first place has also been seen to in this program. And it was to prove that Jesus was a false messenger, because if he's a false messenger and the Jews can prove it by putting him on the cross and he dies there, then they're absolved from having to believe in him. They don't have to accept him because he's been proven as being false. So what will happen on the Day of Judgment? God will call all those Jews and will say, so, you tried to kill my messenger Jesus. Why didn't you believe in him? He was the Messiah. They'll say, but he wasn't the Messiah. How was he the Messiah? Did you not write in Deuteronomy that if somebody is hanged on the wood or the cross or whatever it is hanged anyway, and he dies there, then he will be accursed. So he will be false. We took Jesus, we put him on the cross, he died there. So we rejected him. We followed your law. Will God then say, aha, but you don't know what I did. It wasn't Jesus. I took him up to heaven and I made somebody else look like him and you put him on the cross instead. I got you. So then what will they say? They'll say, well, then you can't punish us then. You tricked us. You deceived us, God. Can you imagine this scenario on the Day of Judgment? And this is exactly, precisely what's going to happen, which will have to happen. It will have to happen. God is deceiving people and then trying to punish them, and then they're saying, well, you can't punish us because we didn't know. How were those poor people to know that it wasn't Jesus? To all intents and purposes, it was Jesus.
Killing innocents also.
And the innocent
man, what did he do?
Exactly. This is the thing. So we cannot, how can we then say, is that not, I mean, this is an insult to the beliefs of the first Muslims, to think even for 1 second that they could have believed in a scenario like this. How could they? Which is the logical conclusion of that belief of the substitution of Jesus for somebody else, or somebody else for Jesus. Now, when we go to the actual scholars of the past, often this question is raised that you of the Ahmadiyya, you've invented a new concept of the death of Jesus. But that's not correct. We find that even in the Sahih al-Bukhari, the most authentic book of hadith, in the Kitab al-Tafsir, you will find as a note in there from Ibn Abbas, when there is a specific hadith being recorded here, and I will have to read some of it so that you can kind of get an idea of where I'm coming from. It is said that on the day of, I'll just give a summary, on the Day of Judgment, certain people will be sent to the hellfire, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ himself is saying that I will say, ashabi, my companions, they're my companions, Then Allah will tell him, you do not know what they did after you. He said, then on that day I will say, like the pious servant, meaning the Prophet Jesus said, and that's the verse that we saw in the beginning of this program, and I was a witness over them while I dwelt amongst them. When you took me, you were the watcher over them, and you are a witness to all things. And I'm saying you took me because this is the translation of the non-Ahmadi Muslims. And then it will be said that these people have continued to be apostates since you left them. Now, Ibn Kathir, in the Tafsir Ibn Kathir, which is a very well-known tafsir or commentary of the Holy Qur'an, we find that the commentator says here that there are two opinions about the death or not of Jesus. How did he go? Did he go up alive, or was he dead when he was raised by God to himself? And it's here that we see what Ibn Abbas says, and it says وَرَوَى عَلِي ibn Abi Talha عن Ibn Abbas مُتَوَفِّيكَ أي مُمِيتُكَ, which means that it's related by Ali ibn Abi Talha from Ibn Abbas, who is a companion of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says the word mutawafika, which means I, as they translate it, the non-Ahmadi Muslims, that I will take you. He says a mumituka, it means or, in other words, I will cause you to die. Now, if Ibn Abbas understood mutawafika as being I will cause you to die, meaning God is speaking to Jesus saying I will cause you to die, if he can believe in that, why can't we? As you can see, therefore, our belief in the death of Jesus before he goes to God has a sound basis in logic as well, because of that scenario which we cannot accept and which could not have been part of the belief system of the early Muslims, and also because we even see that some of the earliest Muslims are even saying that they believe it meant that he died first and then he was taken by Allah. Spiritually, therefore, that's the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. Azasab, has anyone else held this view?
Well, I think, again, the whole issue of the early Muslims, put in the context of this idea of someone dying in place of Isa alayhi salam, as he said, it would be so unjust. What crime did this Jew commit? In one of the narrations, and mind you, all these narrations you find, they're not found in Hadith, they're not found in the Holy Qur'an. They're found in books of the historians or the later scholars who have said so-and-so has described this scene. For instance, they said that there were some 17 Jews who were arrested, and of them on which one of them the face of Jesus alayhi salam was placed. He was grabbed, placed on the cross. However, they only changed the face and not the body. And that's why in the verse of Qur'an which we began this session, that there are some who have doubt about this. This should be halahum. This whole idea that he appeared to be one like Jesus created doubt because only the face was Jesus, the body wasn't Jesus. So they wasn't sure who actually died. How ludicrous. And the stories go on. The stories, in fact, keep changing. And another one, because they realized this would be unjust, unfair, they changed the scene around it, that this person committed some kind of injustice or some immoral act, and he deserved, therefore, to be punished. So what Allah did, he seized this one and placed the image of Isa on this criminal, and thereby kind of justifying the fact that someone other than Jesus died, because innocent shouldn't die. Unfortunately, none of these things have any credence. There's no authority for them, like I say, in the Quran or Hadith, and the earliest companions obviously had a different view of the whole scenario when you think of the day when the Holy Prophet Muhammad passed away from this world. What happened on that day? The entire Ummah was gripped for a moment with the thought that we are losing mankind's greatest messenger, our mentor, our master, our guide, our beloved, our benefactor in every possible way. It was so overwhelming, the thought that he died, that one of the greatest companions, Hazrat Umar anhu, when he heard this, he rushed to the scene and he pulled his sword out, stating that this messenger has not passed away. He has gone off like Moses went from his people for some time, and he will come back. And if anyone dares say he died, I will put him to death. All of a sudden on the scene rushes Hazrat Abu Bakr anhu, the great lover of the Holy Prophet as well. And he went into his chamber. He saw his wife, Hazrat Aisha, there, his own daughter, and he recognized the fact that the Holy Prophet has passed on. And he said, I will not let him die a second death. The death of those who've gone before him, who were raised up to this prophethood, he said, I won't let that happen. He went out and addressed the Muslims. And these are the words that are recorded in the Holy Quran, which he said. This is recorded in Surah Ali Imran, chapter 3 of the Quran, verse 145, or if you're having a Quran in which you don't count Bismillah as the first, verse 144. few times in the Holy Quran with an actual name Muhammad is mentioned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is one of them. He recites, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا الرَّسُولُ sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Muhammad is only a messenger. What did Brother Ahmed say earlier when he said, I can't go to the heaven? He said, I am only a bashar, I'm a man, or Rasul, and a messenger. Again, the reference is, he is only a messenger. قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلَهِ الرُّسُلُ. Verily, the messengers, if you want to say it, or we say all of the messages before him have passed away. Then the Quran clarifies what is meant by passing away. There are two ways. It says, afa immata, if he dies, meaning if he dies naturally, aw qutila, or he is killed. These are the very two issues again mentioned in the Holy Quran. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. He didn't die and he wasn't killed. He wasn't killed by this crucifixion. He wasn't killed by any other act of yours. He died naturally. Mutawafika, he died naturally. So the Quran says about the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam here that if he dies naturally or if he is slain somehow, will you then turn back on your heels? When the Muslims heard this, Hazrat Umar and the rest were stunned, and they said, it's as if we heard this verse for the first time. The verse was there, but the implication of this verse was so profound in that moment. They were overwhelmed, and Hazrat Umar fell down in a paroxysm of grief over the reality that sunk in at the moment when he heard this verse. This, our beloved messenger, has passed on. But not only that, now the question you ask anyone, including our Muslim friends who believe that Jesus is alive in heaven, why did not a single one amongst them give this reference? The best that Hazrat Umar could do before he heard this verse was saying, like Moses, who went away for a few days, he'll come back. He did not say. The man who the Holy Prophet said, if the Quran had been revealed upon anyone else than me, could have been upon Umar. That's how great this man was in terms of his knowledge and his spirituality. He himself mentioned nothing about the fact, yes, the messenger has probably gone to the heavens like Isa and will come back again. Nor did anyone else. So it shows clearly no one of these earliest, greatest scholars and spiritual luminaries of Islam had this belief that Jesus ﷺ is sitting in heaven. Otherwise, at this moment, someone would have presented it as a possibility to consider, and in fact, no one did. So we use that as an indication of what the early scholars of Islam, the true scholars, believed about Isa in this whole substitution theory.
Okay. Thank you very much, Azasab. Remember that if you want to send us in a question, it's faithmatters@mta.tv. And please send in any thoughts that you have, because we rely on you participating in the program.